ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Welcome to this what episode is today? Third episode. Third episode of the Shloka learning series, and in this course we're trying to learn how to memorize the shlokas and apply them. And in today's topic it is about sandhi vichhed, which means joining and division of words. So when we look at a shloka, for example, let me just take out a sample shloka. Say alright, let's take a simple shloka. Chapter 2, text 12. Now, as you can see here, Natvevaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadhipaha nachaivana bhavishyamah sarve vayam atah param. Now, it's pretty straightforward for reading, but when you look at the word to word meanings, oftentimes this happens that when you see the word in the shloka, it's in one spelling, and then in the word to word it's a different spelling altogether. So why does this happen? So that's actually because of these rules of sandhi, the joining of words. Now honestly, this science of joining and division of words in Sanskrit is a very very vast subject, and I have absolutely no idea about this. So what I do know though that is that over the years, having read Srila Prabhupada's books, we got an idea, we got a good hold of like when we see the word, okay, what is this long word made up of? Maybe 2 or 3 small words. So what I am trying to teach today in this session is not at all anywhere near that of an expert level Sanskrit class. And actually this science of sandhi, it will take months if not years to master. There are about, I don't know, 30 rules, different rules. So basically, we will look at the absolute basics, and even if I try to explain all those rules, it will be very difficult to understand sometimes, and it can be a pretty dry subject. So what we are here trying to do is trying to just understand this Sandhi just enough for us to read Srila Prabhupada's books and understand the words, because in the shloka it's made up of many words, so we should be able to understand each and every word. So sometimes, like for example, you can see this word here, evaham, for example. So this evaham is actually two words. So we need to be able to understand how to separate them so that we can understand each word separately from everything else. So in this way we understand each and every word, because evaham is not a word by itself. So as you can see here, there is eva, certainly, and aham. One second. Eva, certainly, and aham, I. But you don't find the word evaham in the word to word meaning. So it is actually divided into these two. Eva plus aham becomes evaham. So for those of you who are familiar with Indian languages, you will probably understand this, because in school, in the secondary school or primary, we are taught these things. But for others who are not used to this Indian languages so much, it may be a little bit difficult to catch, but it should not be very difficult, especially these basics. There are a lot more rules which can be confusing, but actually all of this is based on common sense. Common sense is that it is basically made to make it easy for us to pronounce. For example, if it was not joined, for example this verse, if it was not joined like this, if all the words were separate, it would sound something like this. Na tu eva aham jatu na asam na tvam na ime jana adhipah na cha eva na bhavishyamah sarve vayam atah param. So it is actually difficult to pronounce if you divide it. So to make it easier to pronounce so that the tongue doesn't have to fly all around the mouth, so there are these sandhi rules, so that it's very easy for the tongue to transition from one sound to another, from one word to another. So if we just chant like this, natvevaham jatunasam natvam neme janadhipah nachaiva na bhavishyamah sarve vayam atah param, this is much easier than natu eva aham jatu na asam natvam na ime jana adhipah na cha eva na bhavishyamah sarve vayam atah param. You see how many times I have to stop and like the tongue is in one position. Suppose like yesterday we have learned that there are velar. Velum is a soft palate above, the soft palate behind. That is velum. So the sounds produced from there are called velar sounds, kanthya. And then there is palatal, then there is retroflex, and there is dental, and there is labial, the lips. So all these 5 different positions are there from where we are making the sound. Now if the tongue is at one place, and then the next word starts or requires the tongue to be in a different place, then there has to be a lot of movement of the tongue. For example, na ime. For example, na, this neme. Neme is actually not one word. It's na, this one. Na and ime. Na plus ime is neme. So na ime is like there is a lot of change in the position of the tongue that you have to do, and when you are chanting it pretty fast, it can be very difficult for the tongue to move from here, from the velar place to the labial to the palatal to the dental to again to the kanthya. It's all very difficult. So to just make it easier for the tongue to move, so these sandhi rules are there. So it was there for a very long time, but modern Sanskrit, Panini, there was one sage called Panini. He wrote extensively on grammar. But anyway, we are not going to all the rules of grammar now. I just wanted to impress upon you how to be able to distinguish when we see something. Like for example, we all know in our Hare Krishna temples, when we are doing the class, so everybody chants the verse. So before chanting the verse, we chant each and every word of the verse. So that's when we may make mistake. No, so I may chant na tva, TV. You see there, TV. What is that? TV, tva. Actually, it's not tva, it's tu. But tu plus eva. In the next word, you see the starting with a. So natu a, natu eva aham, natu eva aham. So to just make it a smooth transition, so it will become u becomes v. So it's natvevaham. It has to be pronounced like one word, as if it's this whole thing is one word. This one, tvevaham, tvevaham. It's not like natva evaham. No, natvevaham. Jatu nasam. It's actually na asam. Na means did not. Asam means exist. So in this way, there is joining of words. So there are so many. So what I will do today, we will just go through the very basic rules of the vowels, and we will go through examples of shlokas. And all of you who are, the video was out of focus for some time. Okay, sorry. Now is in focus. All right. So we will go through the basic rules of Sandhi. After that, we will go through examples of verses, different verses, random verses, and just try to understand the concept, the general concept of it. We can no way cover the entire subject of Sandhi or joining of words in one lesson. No way. So we are just going to understand the general understanding, and actually the best way to get better at this is when you read the verses, you also read the word to word meaning, and as you read, you observe, compare it with the original verse and then word to word. When you see the difference, then you know, okay, this is a joint word, okay, this is how it's joined. So then you will get an idea. So we will go to the basic rules. In fact, even for me, this is very, very difficult. I'm no expert in Sanskrit. I've been repeatedly telling you this. These classes, Sanskrit classes, are only to enable us to understand Srila Prabhupada just enough to comprehend Prabhupada's books. Whatever I have learned about Sandhi also is mostly from Prabhupada's books only. Just observing the word to word, then just try to understand. Okay, then made out what is the rules for the grammar. But there are so many other rules in the Sandhi. So now anyway, coming back to the point, easy to memorize vowel Sandhi. So vowel, as we know, a, I, u, r, e, I, o, au, aha. So of course, this author of this is actually a website article. It's a web article, online article. So we're just going through this. This is a very short article also, and it will just give you a good idea of the concept. And you see this these words here. So these are just like memorizing instruments. Just make it like he made it like a poem so that we can easily understand. But we don't really need this. So let's try to understand the concept. Vowels strengthen themselves. So here, okay, we'll go back to that verse. Sandhi, joining, happens when the rules of Sandhi apply when there are two words and the last character or the last alphabet of the first word and the first alphabet of the second word. Okay. Say tvevaham. Okay, tu plus eva. Tu plus eva. Now the last letter of the first word and the first letter of the second word. So by looking at these, we should understand what is the word that it happens. What is the letter that will replace this and make it a smooth joint? Or if it is nasam, na plus asam is nasam. So here this is a, this is a. A plus a becomes a. So it will become n. This 2 will become a, and then sam is same. So nasam. This u plus e becomes ve. It's not ve, ve. So it's easy to pronounce. Otherwise it's tu eva, but no. Now tveva, tveva as one word, like that. So this is what I am trying to say. So the the last letter of the first word and the first letter of the second word we will see, and then we will understand how the sandhi is made. So these rules here now. When you say this, you see a I U R, right? So it is actually in Sanskrit should be pronounced as a I U R plus a I U R. So that means if in the first word the last letter is a, and then in the second word the first letter is a, that a plus a becomes a, as you can see there. A, the first a, and then the first a. You see, a plus a is a. A plus a, like na plus, oh that is, no, this is not a good example. This is a plus a. What is a good example? Tenaham, okay, say tenaham. Tenaham. So this is tena plus aham, two words. So this is a. I think we will a plus a becomes a. So then this will remain the same, this will remain the same, and this a plus a is made into a, and now it is like one word. This, add this ten here and this ham here. Now it becomes tenaham. So this is sandhi basically. So all the rules of sandhi are based on what is this and what is this. These two things, what they are, all the rules, and what it will become. If this is a consonant and this is a vowel, or this is a vowel and this is a consonant, what happens? So all these, or half vowel. So all these combinations there are. So for this there are so many rules. So here in this it is said E plus E becomes E, just like we saw A plus A becomes A. E plus E becomes E, long E. For example, sorry, this is very technical, but it's useful to understand. We're only going to go a little bit only onto this, just to understand the concept, right? So E plus E, what is a good example? Vishidantam, no. I can't think of a good example at this point. Kridam, ikshita, no, ikshita. I can't think of a good example really. Anyway, when we get there, we will see. And U plus U. So basically the same thing. The last letter is E plus the first alphabet of the second letter is E. Then it becomes E. And then whatever is here and whatever is here, just copy paste here. That's it. That is the Sandhi word. So if we go back here, U, small u plus u, oo. Well, I can't think of a good example. So u plus u becomes oo, so elongated. That's all. And then, as we will go through example verses after this, then we will have more examples to look at. Because just out of memory, to kind of take it out, it's a bit tough. So r plus r becomes r. So anyway, that is very rare in our books. So basically, this a e u, that is one. Then a plus e becomes a. This is important. A plus e becomes a. A plus a becomes I. A plus I becomes I. So a good example will be, I think this verse already has. This one, neme. Neme is na plus ime. Na plus ime. A plus e becomes a, and then copy this. Na, and then this is me. So neme. That's how you get it. And these two becomes e. That's all. This is Sandhi. So we just need to know what happens to this first and last. First word last letter, second word first letter. That's all we need to see. Then we will understand. So when we see the shloka, we see it as joined like this, neme. So we need to understand what it is. So not every time you see an a, it is actually a plus e. It can be maybe part of one word, like Vasudeva. When you see Vasudeva, here you see a. That doesn't mean it's Va Sudha plus Eva, or this is not the case. It's not Vasudeva, it's just one word. So not every time you see a it's two words. So only sometimes. So we need to, as you learn the verses and see the word to word, you will always see the breaking of the words, Then you will notice, you will get a hang of it. In the beginning you won't get a hang of it. You won't know. You are not expected to know. That's not your fault anyway. So you will understand it as you go along learning verses. And I think there is some lag in the video, isn't it? Kindly let me know in the comments. There is some lag between the audio and the video. That's what I see here. It's not totally smooth, isn't it? So na, ima, ime. So kindly let me know in the comments if it's all smooth, or is it like getting stuck, the video, and how is the audio for you? Kindly let me know. So na plus ime. So that is one, and a plus I, up a. It's not so common, a plus I, but it is there. Many times I have seen also, but I just can't remember it offhand. Little bit it is, but it's still okay. Okay, so the next rule. A plus a is I, a plus I is I, a plus u becomes o. Okay, this is a good one. We can, so a plus u is o. A plus u is o. Now what is a good example? Asamordhva. Asamordhva means the Lord is called Asamordhva. That means sama means equal. Urdhva means above. Equal or above. equal to or more. A means negation. So sama urdhva means equal and above. A means no equal and above. So asama urdhva means there is nobody equal to him and nobody above him. So the Lord is called asamordhva. So if you actually that's a plus u, but anyway it also gets to o only. So asama means not equal. Sama means equal. Asama means not equal. Plus urdhva. So these are the two words. Urdhva means above. So now what is the joint word? So this and this becomes O. A plus U, and A plus U also is also O. So this 2 becomes O, and this one copy it here, and this one copy it here. Asamordhva. So that's all. So this is Sandhi. And A plus O is Au. Yes, there is a verse. Let's see if we can take this out. Mukundamala Stotra, 46th verse. Yes. So you see this word Divaukasaha. So this Divaukasaha, if we see in the word to word, Diva plus Okasaha. You see? Diva plus Okasaha. So A plus O becomes Au. Divaukasaha. So this is Sandhi. So Diva plus Okasaha. So this and this becomes Au, and then copy. This one copy here, div and kasaha copy here, divau kasaha. So this is how the Sandhi Vichhed happens. So how do we know which one is the package of words? You just look at the synonyms. Srila Prabhupada has already done all the work for us. We don't have to make any guesses where is the word breaking and where is it not. Over time, as you learn, looking at Srila Prabhupada's books and studying, when you see the verses and you look at the word to word meanings, and then you observe. When you see na, just don't chant like that. Compare it with the sloka. Instead of just reading, like na, tu, eva, aham, compare it with the shloka and how it is changing. So by that you can understand, okay, this is the rule. So in this way we can understand. Then there is A plus Au is also Au. Okay, A plus R is Ar. This is found in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. I can remember 10.2 I think. Okay, you see this Maharshayah. Maharshayah. And here also Maharshinam. Now you see the word to word meaning Maharshayah. Maha plus Rishayah. Rishi means, Rishayah means the sages. Maha means the great sages. Maha means great. Maha plus Rishayah. Maharishayah, great sages, together becomes Maharshayah. So A plus R. I hope you remember what's R. R is R with the dot. In Krishna, K R with dot, that is r. That is one of the vowels. It becomes r. So maha. Okay, here the example is maha. A plus r also becomes r. Maha plus rishayah. So this a, this r join to become r. There is some delay in the screen today. Alright, video and audio, okay. Yeah, there's a little bit of lag, but let's proceed. So r, and then this maha, just copy. So it's maha, maha, and this shayah, copy as it is. Shayah, maharshayah. That's all. So this is the joint word. Or so in this way, words are formed, and there are more rules. Like for example, these is all vowels. We are looking at vowel plus vowel. On the last is vowel, and on the second word, the first letter is also vowel. What if there are consonants? So usually, when the first word ends with a vowel, and the second word starts with a consonant, usually they will just as they are. There's nothing, there's no sandhi. Unless it is visarga. When it is visarga, visarga means this H with a dot. This visarga, this one, if it is ending with this and there is a voiced, especially voiced consonant, that means like g, instead of ka is unvoiced, aghosha, and g is voiced, and they will be different. It will become o. Aha means become o. We will go through all the examples, and at this point, okay, let's see if any other. Oh yeah, e becomes y, u becomes v. Yes, this is good. So this is a semi-vowel. So e or u and r. So the first word is ending with e or u or r, and second word is starting with any other. It becomes, like for example, what is a good example? Tulasyamrita janmasi. Okay, yeah, 4:17. 4:17. Bhagavad Gita. No, not this. Yeah, 18. 4:18. Now you see these two words. You see this? Karmani and akarma. Karmani and akarma. But we don't chant this as karmani akarma yah pasyed. No. Karmanya karma yah pasyed. You see the difference? Karmanya karma is supposed to be read as one word. Actually, there are two words. Okay, now we will go to this board here. So karmani plus akarma. So now this is the actual word, because in the word to word, if you see karmani, see that? So that karmani is ending with I, whereas in the verse itself it is ending with Y. So why that difference? Because the E and next word is starting with A. So instead of karmani arma, karmanya karma. See, it's like flowing from one to another. So it is these sandhi rules are there to just ease out our pronunciation. It's actually, much of it is common sense. As you will get used to it, it is common sense. Where is your tongue and how it is to be pronounced. So karmanya karmayah pashyet akarmani cha karmayah sabuddhiman manushyeshu sayuktah kritsna karma krit. So the rest of these are pretty straightforward. Akarmani cha karmayah. So you see here akarmani cha, there it is not changed as y because there is no vowel. So it's ending with a vowel, but the second word is starting with a consonant. Then there is no changes, will stay as they are, right? So but here when the vowel, yes, it becomes karmanya karma. So this will become karmanya karma, and this is how you have to pronounce it, as if it's one word. Although there are two words, pronounce it like one word. When you see this, when the IA becomes YA, so when that means this I becomes a Y, that's when you treat those two words as one word. Karmanya karma. This is important because it also goes to the count syllables. So I hope you understand what is syllables now. Syllables are, as there is only one vowel inside there. So karmani, how many syllables are there? Kar, ka, rma, ni. 3 syllables. So there are 3 vowels in the English, you see. Karmani. You see, one vowel, second vowel, third vowel. 3 vowels are here. So when there are 3 vowels, that means there are 3 syllables. Mani. So there are 3 syllables. Now, akarma in this verse, karmani akarma yah pashyet. So karmani akarma yah pashyet becomes 9. But if we treat it as one word, karmanya karma yah pashyet, 8. So it was 9, now it became 8. So one syllable less. So these verses are of length 8 syllables each. That means each pada means one line of the verse. So each shloka means the verse, and pada means one line of that verse. How many lines? So there are different chandas. So Gayatri Chandra, for example, has only 3 lines, each of 8 syllables each. But this is Anushtup Chanda. Anushtup Chanda has 4 lines and each line is 8 syllables. So if we pronounce it as karmani akarma yah pashyed, so it becomes 9 syllables. So karmanya karma yah pashyed, it becomes 8 syllables. So the number of syllables are reduced as well. I'll give you another good example. If you go to 11:26:33 in Bhagavatam, Okay, this verse, if you see the last line of it, Santorvag bibhyatoranam. There are so many sandhis in this word, in this line. Santorvag bibhyatoranam. So if you see the word to word, Santaha. In the verse it is Santo. Here it is Santaha. And after Santo it's Rvag. But here Arvak. RVAG. Now it is ARVAK. And it's not RVAG. You see apostrophe there? Apostrophe. So that apostrophe is denoting the A actually. So this is another sandhi. So there are so many rules, that's why. So we just have to observe it. We don't have to really know all these rules at the moment. We just have to observe that this becomes like this. Next time we see that, okay, we know it is a. So whenever there is an apostrophe there, it means that word starts from a. But it is ending with G in the verse, and then in the word to word it is ending with K. So why is that? So that is another rule. So we will go to that later. But santaha, arvak, and then bibhyataha. So because the bibhyata word is starting with b. B is a voiced velar sound, voiced unaspirated velar sound. So velar means labial. Voiced unaspirated labial sound. Labial means lip. So it's made with the lip b, and it is not pa. Pa is unvoiced, aghosha. B is from the deeper part of the throat, so it's voiced. So and it's not aspirated. Bha. Bha is aspirated, so this is only b. So it's a voiced consonant, and there is a unvoiced consonant on the last word. Like here you see ak, arvak, as you can see on the board here, arvak. So that is ending with k. So that is an unvoiced consonant. It's not g, it's k. K is unvoiced. G, then you make it from the deeper part of the throat. G. But this is k. So when an unvoiced consonant has to join with a voiced consonant, it becomes the voiced version of k. K becomes g. K becomes g. So I know this is a lot, but try to be a little patient, because we're just trying to understand this concept in a general way. There is no need for us to learn exactly the exact rules, but if we know the general rules, and then slowly we can pick the others up as we notice the slokas. That's all. Even I learned like that. In fact, I do not know all the rules. I do not know, but by looking at it, got the hang of it over the years. So as much as you just observe, you don't have to learn this. You don't this whole lesson you can do away with this, but you should very closely observe the word to word meaning, and then compare it with the shloka always, and see, oh, this is how it is changing. So a plus u is o. So for those who are familiar with Indian languages, so for them they understand. For others, they may not understand why it is different. So to explain that, so we are having this session so that we can break the words individually, so that we can learn each of those words. As we will learn tomorrow is about the tunes, the day after tomorrow is about understanding, and that's where we get into the words, each word of the shloka. So that's where we need to know this, how to divide them. We don't need to really know, because they already divided for us. Srila Prabhupada has divided all the words. So just understanding the reason why they are divided in that way. That's all. That's all we are trying to learn here. So santorvag bibhyatoranam. Bibhyataha, you see bibhyato, here it is bibhyato. Whereas in the word to word it is bibhyataha. Bibhyataha. So it is bibhyato. So this is again a visarga, that means the aha sound goes, and in fact ranam, here it is ranam. Apostrophe ranam. That apostrophe means what? A. When you see apostrophe, it is actually an a. In the sandhi, it is as apostrophe. Actually, in Sanskrit, it will be like this. It will be like this. That means santaha. Santaha. And this is santaha. All right, and then arvak. I'm very arvak. So this is arvak. Right. So now when you join in English it will become Santorvak. But this K became a G because of the next word, because that is the end of this word and the next word is starting from another, and then that rule caused it to become a G. But alone on its own it is a K. So Santorvak, it became like this. So in Sanskrit, how that would look like? Santo Vak. So this S you see here, this S looks like S. So that becomes in English the apostrophe. Santorvak. So that is the reason behind that apostrophe, why the apostrophe is there. So anyway, this is all technical, but that's how it will become. So when you say an apostrophe, always it is a when you divide it. Remember that. What is next? If we go into this, okay, now av. We have example in, I think, second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in the beginning. I think it's the second chapter, 4th verse, no, 5th verse. Pujarhav. Okay, good. You see this word, Pujarhavari. Pujarhavari. Actually, there are three words there. Pujarhav is actually Puja plus Arhav. It's not, you notice it, it is ending with a U here in the word to word meaning. Whereas in the verse itself, it's ending with a V. This is because the next word is starting with A and it's ending with Au on the previous word and then A on the other word. So Au plus A becomes Ava. Ava. So that's why it's Ava. Pujarhav Arisudana. So that becomes like that. So that is another example. In this way, there are so many examples. So now another example would be Bhavan Bhishmascha Dronascha. So I think yes, 125. No, not this one. 1-8. You see this? The first line, Bhavan Bhishmascha, Bhishmascha. So Bhish, S with a dot, Sh, with the Kantya, velar, Sh. Bhishmash, S with the accent on top, Sh, as in the tongue is at the Ch point, but Sh. So Bhishmascha, Karanascha. But if you see the word to word, it's Bhishmaha. So Bhishmaha cha. Actually, if you don't put any sandhi rule, Bhavan Bhishmaha cha Karnaha cha. But it is difficult to pronounce like that, moving the tongue so much. Bhishmaha cha Karnaha cha. So it is easy, Bhishmascha Karnascha. So the tongue is already there, near cha. When you say Bhishmash, the sh sound is already, the tongue is at the cha location, that means the palate, upper palate. So it's already there. So basically make the tongue move closer to the next word's starting sound so that it is a smooth transition. Bhishmascha instead of Bhishmahacha. Like break it and staccato, smooth instead of staccato. Staccato means like breaking and breaking and breaking and like that. So instead of the words breaking up like that, it has to be smooth. So that is causing that. Bhishmascha Karnascha. So because the next word starts with cha, therefore Bhishmaha plus cha becomes Bhishmascha. So that is another example. This is consonant and consonant. So like this there are many rules. So what I want you to learn from this is just observe the shlokas and then see the rule. How is it changing? Just as you see more and more of that rule, then you will understand. Okay, next time you see that Bhishmas. So when we are chanting in the class, Bhavan, everybody says Bhavan, and then Bhishmash, then everybody says Bhishmash. So that is wrong. So we have to look at the word to word always. That is the actual word, Bhishmaha. Then cha, then Karnaha, and cha, Kripascha. Next line, you see Kripascha. Actually, Kripaha cha. So in this way, when we look at the word, then we know the exact actually what the word is, and because of the joining rule, therefore it has become in this way, Kripascha. Actually, it's Kripacha. And Vikaranascha again. Vikaranascha. Now here there is another interesting thing. Saumadattis. You look at the word to word here. Saumadattihi. H with the dot below, that means Visarga, aha. But it's not aha, it's ihi, because it starts ending with Saumadattihi. So Saumadattihi, and then next is Tathaiva. So because the next one is on the dental, ta is dental sound, ta, when you put your tongue at the teeth, just behind the teeth, upper teeth, ta. So that sound is a dental sound. So therefore the sibilant means sh, sa. So these are called sibilants. And there is aha, which is glottal. Actually, yesterday we forgot to see the glottal, the last alphabet of Sanskrit, aha, which is glottal, which is from the throat, aha. So anyway, Saumadattis. Why it is Dattis instead of Dattish, like Vikaranash cha or Bhishmash cha? Because the next word there was cha, and if you remember, let's go back and lesson 2. Yeah. If you go here and if you remember this diagram, you see cha where it is? It's palatal. It is here at the middle of the upper portion of the mouth. Cha, palatal. And ta is here, dental, the first one you see, ta. So tathaiva, so in the Somadattihi, so the H with the dot below, that will become dental. So in the sibilant sounds, sh, sa, sh is palatal, sh is velar, and sa is dental. So it will become sa instead of sh. If all this is like way over your head, just observe it. That's all. What can I say? Because this subject is actually very dry. It's very hard to make it interesting because it's very technical and very how to say, not that interesting, but it helps. So for that purpose we are learning this. And Saumadattis Tathaiva cha. Alright, so now we will go and look at some example verses, and I welcome all of you that are watching. Please paste some verses in the comments so that we can analyze them also and see the division, how they are divided. Just to see, we may or may not understand the exact rule of what it should become and how it became, but we just see how they are changing and how these words are formed. That's all. So today we are only going to do that. It's quite a simple session, in fact, because actually if we want to make it can be very, very, very complicated, and it will take a few months. So neither do I know that much Sanskrit, and neither we need to know that much, because Srila Prabhupada is so kind that he took all the effort of breaking up each and every word by understanding the sandhi, these rules of joining and division, and he has separated everything for us. He has done all the work for us. We only need to observe it, learn it, and apply it. So that's why Prabhupada said in the lectures, I have included the diacritic marks, I have given the word to word meaning, I have divided the words. So please use this to learn. Prabhupada said, how many times he said this? So that's why we are learning it, just to understand how much work actually went into translating the books. It's not about just Bhavan Bhishma Sakaran, all I just write something. No. Of course, writing, Prabhupada also wrote purports, translations, but also the word to word. He broke up each and every word. How much work that is. So Srila Prabhupada did this whole night, every night he was, doing all these things. For us to learn itself, it's going way above our head. But he was doing this at the age of 70 plus 80, he was traveling all over the world and doing all these things. And he translated so many books, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita. How many thousands and thousands of verses he did like this. So we can just appreciate, by learning this, you can appreciate how much work went into the whole thing. So please post some shlokas, as I said. We will analyze them also. And now we will go through a few example shlokas. Right? Let's go to second chapter. Guru na hatva hi mahanubhavan shreyo. You see shreyo. Bhoktum. Shreyo here became shreyah. So when you see an O, because O is a compound vowel, right? Pure vowel is A. And A, E, U. These are pure vowels. But also there is the longer version of it. A, E, U. So these means it can be, it's not exactly every time, but it can be the joining of two words, especially when it comes at the end or start. Then we have to look out for these things. So, Shreyo. The O. When we say O at the end there, we should understand, this must be some Sandhi going on, Sandhi rule. So, when we see in the word to word, it is Shreyah. So, we should actually chant it, when we are dividing it, it should be Shreyah. When we are chanting it together in the verse, it should not be Shreyah Bhoktum Bhaiksham Api Haloke. No. It should be Shreyo when we are chanting it together. But when we are separating it, it's Shreyah. So Bhaiksham Apiha. When you say E with a long, so you can guess, okay, this can be a, so E plus E become E. So if you see in the word to word, actually that is the case. Not every time when you see E means it's a joint, but it can be a joint. Api plus Iha. Apiha. Loke. Hatvartha. There are two words there. How we know? We see the A in between. That means there is something. Hatva plus Artha. Hatvartha. So in this way, Kaman. Here you see Kaman. Here Kamams. Why? Kamantu. It doesn't flow. Kamamstu. So these are all rules. Especially when there is a nasal, Kaman, end with a nasal and then there is a consonant on the other side, then it becomes sibilant and the N becomes M. So all these rules are there, so many rules. So you can just try to understand things are there and watch out for them, and in the word to word meanings we can notice these things. And Gurun ihaiva, I, when we see I in the beginning, in the middle, AI, that means okay, this can be. And if we see in this thing, yes, it is iha plus eva, ihaiva. Bhunjiya. In the beginning, you may not be able to. How can you see ihaiva and then understand it's two words? How can I understand? I don't understand. So it doesn't matter. So just observe it. And once, twice, thrice, 4 times you observe it, then you can understand. Okay, next time Then you see, then you will have a hunch, okay, this can be 2 words. Let's see, oh yeah, it's 2 words. So you will see like that. In the beginning you won't understand, I agree. So as we go on, we will get the hang of it. That's what we're going to learn. And Mahanubhavan, Mahanubhavan also is 2 words. Maha plus Anubhavan. Maha plus Anubhavan. Mahanubhavan. A plus A is A. A plus A is A. A plus A is A. So all are A. So in this way there are rules. Next, we will go to the next verse. Oh yes. न चैतद्विद्मः कतरन्नो गरीयो यद्वाजयेम यदिवानो जयेयुः. So many here. यानेव हत्वा न जीविषामस्तेव स्थिताः प्रमुखे धार्तराष्ट्र. There are so many here in this verse. Na chaitad, you see chaitad here? But if you see in the word to word, cha plus etat. Etat, as you can see there, is ending with a T. But chaitad is ending with a D because the next word is vidmaha. V. Va is a voiced semi-vowel. It's a semi-vowel. Ya, ra, la, va. These are semi-vowels. So, va is voiced. From here, va. So, because it is voiced, the last word, the last letter of the previous word, T is unvoiced. T is unvoiced. D is voiced. D is for more from a deeper part of the throat. So, when it is T in the last and the next one is a voiced one, then this one also has to become a voiced. So that there is a smooth transition when you are pronouncing it. Na chaitat vidmaha. It is difficult. Na chaitad vidmaha. Because the voiced already the at the end is already a voiced sound. So voiced to voiced is easy to transition. Yes, so that's why you see that. And then kataran no. No here is actually naha. So it's a visarga. Naha plus a consonant. Sometimes it becomes R. That is when it is followed by a vowel. Then it becomes R. But when it is followed by a consonant, it becomes no. Like naha becomes no. Gariyo, again ending with O. That means Gariyo. Here we say Gariyaha. Gariyo becomes Gariyaha. Yadivano Jayeyu. Again no. No is naha. Jayeyu. Yaneva hatva. Yaneva hatva na jijivishamas. Alright. Jivishamas. Jijivishamas. Ending with S. And next line you see te. Jijivishamas. Like namaste, for example. Why we say namaste? Go here. Namaste. Actually, if you see this, there are 2 words here. It's not 1 word. Namaha plus te. Te means you. Namah means respect. Respect to you. That is namaste. So namah. Here it is ending with aha. And here it is starting with ta. So when it is dental, then this aha becomes dental sibilant. When the visarga means is H with a dot. So that is followed by a dental unvoiced sound, ta, like this. Then it becomes a dental sibilant. So namas. And this ta will remain ta only, namaste. And the rest also is the same. Sorry. Namaste. This is how it is produced. So namaste. So it is not a single word actually. There are 2 words. So everything like this we can understand in the sandhi. So just keep a watch out of this. Watch out for that joining and divisions. So as we go more and more, then we will understand. Okay. Say here you see vasthitaha. and the vasthita has an apostrophe at the beginning. That means it means a. Avasthitaah. Avasthitaah. So as we can see here in the word to word, it's avasthitaah. But when it is put together, instead of saying te avasthitaah, te vasthitaah, the extra syllable is removed, and te vasthitaah pramukhe dhartarashtraan. But it is actually te avasthitaah when you separate it. And another good example is the 10 to 32 for this. Yenye ravindaksha. Ten to 32. All right, you see, yenyera. You see here there is an apostrophe here. Nye, Nye, sorry, has an apostrophe in the beginning, and Ravindaksha also has an apostrophe. That means ye, anye, Aravindaksha, and Aravindaksha itself is it's two words. Aravinda plus Aksha. Aravinda plus Aksha is Aravindaksha. Ye, anye, Aravindaksha, vimukta maninas, ending with S. Actually, it's maninah. See, maninah. Tvayasta bhava. Tvayasta. You see, there is two Y's there. Actually, it is tvayi. As you can see here, tvayi. Tvayyi. Tvayi. But here tvayy. Why? Because the next one is a. Tvayastabha. So it is supposed to be like one word. Tvayasta. Tvayasta bhavad avishuddha buddhayah aruhya krachrena param padam tatah patantyadho. Okay, here. Patantyadho. Patantyadho. Actually, it is patanti plus adhaha. Adhaha. Because next word is anadrita. It is nadrita. Nadrita, apostrophe nadrita. Apostrophe is a. Anadrita. And because it is a visarga, adhaha. As you can see here, adhaha. See that? Patanti adhaha. But adho, it becomes adho. Because the next word starts with a vowel a. So patanti, and this patanti is ending with y here, but here you can see it's ending with I. So actually it is patanti with I, patanti. But next word is starting with a. So patantyadho. So whenever it becomes y, the next word join it together and pronounce together as if it's one word. Instead of saying patanti adho, patantyadho, 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 as if it is. We will write it here. Patantyadho, as if it's one word. So pronounce it like that. So even in the chanda, when we are using the the tunes for the shlokas, which we will learn tomorrow, there also you will need to know how many syllables are there when you calculate. So when you divide it like this, there will be more syllables, like patanti adho. How many syllables? Patanti adho, 5. But if you join it like this, patantyadho, patantyadho, 4. See, one syllable less. So this is how your calculation can go wrong if you don't understand the sandhi rules. So these are some of the things to remember, and just pay attention. That's all. In this class, it is actually a very short class today. So in this class, basically I wanted to show that you pay attention to the words, each and every word, and just note how they are changing when they join. Eventually you get the hang of it. Like this we can show many verses. But I think you kind of understand what I am trying to say, because this is not at all a comprehensive class on Sandhi. Right? Just take another example. देहिनोऽस्मिन् यथा देहे कौमारं यौवनं जरा तथा देहांतर प्राप्तिर्धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यति. So again, do the same analysis. Dehino, what it is becoming? Oh, dehinaha. Dehino becomes dehinaha because it is a visarga and followed by asmin. This is smin but with the apostrophe. So that means it is asmin. It is not smin. Not dehino, smin, no, asmin. Yatha, dehe. And each word, now neme in the other word, na plus ime. But here dehe is not da plus ihe, no, it is dehe, it's one word. So it is not a sandhi here in this case. Kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara. Dehantara is actually two words. Deha, as you can see here, deha plus antara. Dehantara, deha plus antara. That means anta means end, antara means at the end of the body, of the transference of the body. Deha antara. Praptir, again you see praptir becomes here praptihi. Why the H became R? Because next line is dhiras. Praptihi dhiras. It is difficult to pronounce. Tatha dehantara praptihi dhiras. You can pronounce, but it is not so easy as praptir dhiras. So to facilitate that thing, the rule is like this. When visarga followed by a voiced dental sound, then it is becomes ra. Praptir dhiras tatra namuhyati. So in this way it is constructed. So like this you can go on. Just note every time. Just note. All right, and slowly you will get the hang of it. And that's how even I learned. I don't know the rules, anything. I don't know anything. But we just saw this and learned through the word to word meaning. Matra, this is 2:14 Bhagavad Gita. Matra sparshastu. So it's actually sparshaha. I think, yeah, here. Sparshahatu. But it became sparshastu because it is ta. The next word is starting with ta or tu. So S, it becomes S, dental sibilant. Sparshastu kaunteya. Shitoshna. This is a good example. Shitoshna is two. Shita plus Ushna. Shita. This is not Sita. Sita means there is a consort of Lord Ramachandra. That is Sita, dental sibilant. But Shita means from the palatal sibilant. Shita. And it's not Shita also. Shita. That means winter or cold. Shita. And Ushna means summer, hot. So Shita plus Ushna becomes Shitoshna. A plus U becomes O. Like when we chant A, U, and we transition from A to U, A, halfway is O. So A plus U becomes O, halfway, that one. So that in that way. And then Agama Payino ending with the O. And then the next one starting with apostrophe. That means that is A. Anityas. Instead of saying Nityas, and it's not even Nityas, Nityaha. Anityaha, sorry, because there is apostrophe. Anityaha. Why it became Nityas? Because in the previous one, Agama Apayino, Apayinaha. Here is Apayino. Agama plus Apayino. Actually, Agama plus Apayinaha become Agama Apayino. And the next one is Anityas, so it becomes Agama Apayino Nityas. Why it became S? Because the next line is Tam Stitikshasva Bharata. So this is just to show you how it works. And I don't have much to say more than this for the Sandhi. It's a very, it is something that you have to just observe and learn. Alright. Like this we can just go every verse. Every verse there are Sandhi and Viched. So we have to Viched and then separate them. Basically, we have covered usually the usual ones that we see in Prabhupada's books. There are some, of course, I did not cover everything. Not everything I can cover also in here. It's very technical, in fact. Mritatvaya with an apostrophe here. Amritatvaya. Amritatvaya. See here? Amritatvaya. There's an apostrophe there. That means a. So. That means this is saha. Saha, you see? Saha. Saha amritatvaya becomes somritatvaya. So in this way it is there. So that's all actually I wanted to say for today. It's a very short session. Our short session is more than 1 hour. But that's pretty much it. Just note and take note and learn along the way, that's all. No need to learn all the rules and everything now. There's no need now. But tomorrow we will learn how to chant the shlokas in the proper tunes. So that is very important because that will help us to chant nicely and also correctly, and we will also, that helps in detecting anything that we have missed, because if we have missed something it will not fit into the tune. So maybe one word or one letter we have missed, we can use this chanda, the tune, to see that hey, something is not fitting us, maybe I'm missing some word, and look back, oh yeah, this word is missing. So like that we can actually analyze. But if we don't, sometimes it is hard to catch. And also to learn the verse, it is easy to use the tune. In 6th verse of Tulsi song, it is very difficult to pronounce the Brahma Hatyadikani cha. Could you explain furthermore how correct we have to say? Okay. So this is the question she is asking. Shvetulina Mataji is asking. 6th verse. Okay, this is actually the Pradakshina mantra. Yani kani cha papani Brahma Hatyadikani cha. So if we go to here, Yani Kani cha Papani Brahma. And all of you, please, if you have any other doubts, any other questions about this pronunciation of these long words or something which is difficult, if you have anything in your mind, please post it in the comments. We can probably clear that out for you. Brahma Hatyadi Kani cha Tani Tani Pranashyanti Pradakshina Pade Pade. So Brahma Hatya. Brahma Hatya means, Brahma means Brahmana, Hatya means killing. Hatya means killing. Yani Kani cha Papani. Whatever sins, Papani means sins. So sins, whatever sins I have committed, even to the extent, not I mean, if one commits, whatever sin one commits, Brahma Hatyadikani cha. So, even if it may be the murder of a Brahmana, even if that kind of sin, that murdering a Brahmana is a terrible sin, but even that, Tani Tani Pranashyanti Pradakshina Pade Pade. So as we go around the Tulsi Maharani, even such great sins are absolved. Even the sin of killing a Brahmana. It's not that we kill the Brahmana and then go around Tulsi purposely. No, but whatever we have done in our past lives, whatever it is, all the sins will be rid. We will get rid of all the sins just by going around the Tulsi Maharani. So Brahma Hatyadikani cha. So that's how it is pronounced. Yani Kani cha Papani Brahma Hatyadikani cha Tani Tani Pranashyanti Pradakshina Pade Pade. Maha Ishwaram. Okay, good. So Kunti Mataji is asking here. So there is 10.3. Actually, there is. I want to actually touch upon another verse also, which many devotees also have a doubt about. 10.3. Okay, Maheshwaram. Here we see Maha Ishwaram. So this is A plus E becomes A. Maha plus Ishwaram. This A and this E become joined together to form A. And this comes in as it is, which is MAH, and Shwaram comes as it is, which is Shwaram, Maheshwaram. So this is how it is done. Another one is morning Mangalarati song in the fourth verse. Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasado Swadvanna Triptam Swadv. How to pronounce this? No. Swadv. This spelling like this. How to pronounce this? Swadvanna. So why it is like this? Actually, this v means is actually u. So it is actually Swadu Anna becomes this u plus a becomes va. Just like I plus a becomes ya. And when it happens like that, not only with y but also with v, it has to be like one word. So it's not like Swadv and then Anna. No, Swadvanna. So whenever there is a y, it has to be treated like one word. The two words should be treated like one word. And same with v. When it is v ending with v, Swadvanna, instead of saying Swadv and then Anna separately, just say it together as if it's one word. Swadvanna. So these are when E or U is the last letter on the first word, and then the other word starts with E or A, E or U. Not U, A or E. If it is U on this one, A or E. And if E on this one, then A and U. No, A and U is different. E plus U, yeah, U, it becomes U, correct. So, as long as it's not the same, what I am saying is, so if the first word, whatever it is, ends with not a but E, and the starting word, the second word, whatever it is, it starts with E, then it becomes E. It's not a T, sorry. If it is looking like a T, it is E. This is E, right? So, but if it is not E on the other side, so if it is not same, E and E becomes E, U and U becomes U, A plus A becomes A. But if it is different, if it is A plus U becomes O, and A plus E becomes A plus E. When you say I, it is actually E in Sanskrit. So A plus E becomes A, and A plus O is OW in this way. But what if that is starting with a? The starting word has a in the end. But what if the starting word has E in the end, and the next word is not starting with E but maybe a and then something? It will become ya. Or if it is say U, it will become U, and it is pronounced, and whatever is here will come here, what is here will come here, and it's pronounced as one word. So now, if it is the first word, whatever it is, it's ending with U, like Svadu and Anna, Svadvanna, and it is starting with A. And then this thing will become Va, and whatever is here will come straight, and whatever is here will come straight, and then chant as one word, Svadvanna, like that. Or if it is U plus what is that? E, then it becomes V, and whatever is here and whatever is here. So in this way. So I don't know if there is an example for that. Maybe there is somewhere, but I can't remember which shloka where. So in this way the things are mentioned. And okay, when reading a shloka, Vijay Sharma is asking, any words beginning with an apostrophe do we pronounce with an A or not? Okay, good. So when you are chanting the shloka, together, we don't pronounce it. The apostrophe means it's silent. But when we are breaking it up, we should know that it is not like this. Only when we are breaking up, then we should know that it is like Nye. When we are chanting the verse, Ye Nye Ravindaksha Vimuktamaninas, Ye Nye Ravindaksha, it is actually as if the A is not there. So that's how you chant when you chant it together as a verse, when all the words together. It's meant to ease out, it's meant to ease the chanting. That's why the Sandhi rules are there. But when you separate it, then you have to chant the original word that it is. So it's not Nye, it's not Ye, it's Anye. But when you chant it, you don't chant Ye Anye Aravindaksha Vimuktamaninas. No. Ye Nye Ravindaksha Vimuktamaninas. But when you divide it, Ye Anye Aravinda Aksha Vimukta Maninah Tvayi Asta Bhavat. See, this is Bhavat. But here it became Bhavad. See, here it is Bhavat. So when the next word is starting with a vowel, then the unvoiced becomes voiced. The ta becomes the. The means voiced, like from the deeper part of the throat. So bhavat becomes bhavad. So it's easy to pronounce. Asa asta bhavad avishuddha buddhayah. Tvayasta bhavad avishuddha buddhayah. Aruhya krichrena param padam tataha patanti adhaha anadrita yushmat. You see yushmat. Yushmat. Ending with a T there. But if you see in the verse, that ends with a D there, Yushmad, because next word is Angraya. Yushmad Angrayaha. Instead of saying Yushmat Angrayaha, it is difficult to pronounce. Yushmad Angrayaha is easy to pronounce. The transition is easy. So when you chant it together, you chant as what it is appearing. But when you break it up, then you observe the different rules, the different apostrophe and the O and all this becomes aha and where becomes what. So that's why when you see the word to word meaning, then you will get the idea of it. Alright. So Vrajakishore has posted this shloka 1074-40. It's an important shloka actually, which I did not learn. But it's a very important shloka. 1074. Nindam bhagavatah shrinvams tatparasya janasya va tato napaiti yahasopi yatyadha sukratachyutah. Anyone who fails to immediately leave the place where he hears criticism of the Supreme Lord or his faithful devotee will certainly fall down bereft of his pious credit. So, he is saying, especially the last line of this shloka is a good example of sandhi. Sahanau astu, sahanau avatu, sahanavavatu, yeah, Sahana bhavatu, Sahana bhunaktu. So here, Yati adhaha sukritaha chutaha. Sukritat chutaha. So here you see yati with a Y. That means when you are chanting it, we have to chant as if it's one word with the second word. Yatyadhaha. Yatyadhaha. When you see a Y or a V, when it ends with Y or V in the first word, that means the next word should be just joined and made chanted together. Yatyadhaha. Yatyadhaha. Actually, it is yati with the I, ending with the I here. Sorry. Yati and adhaha, down. Sukrita chutaha. This is another example of sandhi. Sukritach chutaha. Sukritat chutaha, easier to pronounce. But actually, if you divide it, Sukritat chutaha. Sukritat chutaha. It is very difficult to move the tongue from the dental to the labial, dental to the palatal. Sukritat chutaha. You can't do it fast. Sukritat chutaha, it is easier. Sukritat chutaha. Sukritat chutaha. It is difficult to move the transition. So therefore, the rule is there, Sukritat chutaha. But if you see here, Sukritat. So actually even Sukritat itself is two words. Su and Kritat. Actually it's not two words, it's one word. But Su is a prefix just to mention as good. Su means good. So as you say, see from the good results. From means this is coming from because of Tat. Like yesterday we have said Krishnad. Krishnad eva samuthitam jagadidam. From Krishna these universes have come. So Kritat means from good qualities. So from good, Su means good. So from the good results of his pious works. Kritat means works. Good works, pious works. From the good results of his pious works. So in that is more grammar. What is Krishna, Krishnaha, Krishnasya, Krishne, Krishnad, Krishnena, Krishnaya, Krishnam, Krishna. So all these things are, there is another whole set of grammatical rules in Sanskrit. We are not going to go into all that. That you can understand as you learn Prabhupada's books and see the meaning word to word, you will get the hang of it. So just learn from there. So in this way, pretty much that is the end of the class. And if you have any other questions, you see, like Vishwambar Prabhu has put here, this is a Vedic mantra. Saha now avatu. It is Saha Navavatu, Sahanavavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu. This is we used to chant when we were young also, Vedic mantra, but we never knew what the meaning was, and even I think now also I don't know what the meaning is. But so Saha now, if you see, Saha now becomes Nav, because the next word is starting with A. Navavatu. Instead of saying Sahanav avatu, it is more of a tongue twister than Sahanav avatu. So in that way, so these are rules of Sandhi. So just try to understand the importance of it, and it will help when we divide the words and try to understand every shloka with each word. So that's why we are looking at this whole subject. Alright, so then we will stop here. If there are no questions, if there are any questions, please feel free. We will just wait a few seconds and see if there are any questions more. Okay, so Vimal Prabhu is asking 338. Let's go to 338. धूमेनाव्रियते वह्निर्यथादर्शो मलेन च यथोल्बेनावृतो गर्भस्तथा तेनेदमावृतम्. So many here in this verse. Dhumena. Dhumena avriyate. So it actually is Dhumena avriyate. It's a good choice. So Dhumena plus avriyate. And then Vahnir. Vahnir is actually Vahnih. So Vahnir Yathadarsho. If you say Vahnih Yathadarsho, it is very difficult. It's more of a tongue twister. I mean, you can still, but it is difficult. You have to do a lot of movement of your tongue and your vocal cords and everything. Vahnih Yathadarsha Malena cha Yatha Ulbena Avritaha Garbha Tatha Tena Idam Avritam. So in this way you have to like break up everything. It won't come in a flow. धूमेनाव्रियते वह्निर्यथादर्शो मलेन च यथोल्बेनावृतो गर्भस्तथा तेनेदमावृतम्. See how nicely it flows. So धूमेना आव्रियते वह्निः यथा आदर्शः. See this visarga aha. Yatha adarshah. Adarshah means mirror. Adarshah, sorry. Yatha adarshah means mirror. Becomes adarsho. Yatha adarsho. Malena cha. Malena cha is same. Yatha yatholbena vrito. There are three words there. Yatha ulbena avritaha. Yatha, sorry. Avritaha. Yatha ulbena avritaha becomes what is it? Yatholbena avritaha. But then because there is a garbha, there is a consonant there in the other side, so that avritaha becomes avrito. Yatholbena avrito. So there are three words. Garbhas, it is actually garbhaha, but next word is tatha, sorry. Garbhas tatha. Otherwise it will be garbhaha tatha. That will be breaking, it will not be smooth. So garbhas tatha tenedam. Tena plus idam. Tenedam avratam. So these are sandhi. How do you pronounce Tulsi prayers? Which one? Next one is, I think we have seen all of them. How do you pronounce Tulsi prayers? What Tulsi prayers? The whole song? That is actually a Bengali song. Namo Nama Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Nama Radha Krishna Seva Pavo E Abhilashi. This is actually Bengali. The rules of Bengali Sandhi are not the same as Sanskrit. No. So we will actually not study so much about Bengali Sandhi. You will pretty much understand when you see the verses. You can learn from there. But Sanskrit, the Sandhi rules are more complicated, much more complicated. There are so many rules, so many categories of Sandhis. There are about 24 categories of Sandhis. I don't know actually what is all that 24. I have no idea. So, but enough for me to read Prabhupada's books, and when I see a word, I can understand what is the word made up of, what are the three words that make up this word. So that much if we can understand, and that only how I learned, just by reading Prabhupada's books. No other grammar book or nothing. Just Prabhupada books. Just observe and learn. That's it. So that's why there are differences in the words. All right. So what else? Pramod Pandey. So this is Parshuram Prabhu. Chapter 5, Shloka 8 and 9. Okay. Chapter 5, Shloka 8 and 9. Okay. Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvavit pashyang shrinvan sprishang jighran ashnan gachan swapan shvasan pralapan visrajan grihnan unmishan nimishan api indriyanindriyartheshu vartanta iti dharayan. Already it sounds like a tongue twister with all the sandhi. You take out the sandhi, that's it. Our tongue will be twisted and it will not move anymore. So naiva, na plus eva, naiva. So when you see this I, nai, ai. So nai, now you can already guess there is some sandhi going on here. Naiva, that means na eva. A plus a becomes I. Kinchit is just by itself. Karomiti. There is a sandhi here. Karomi plus iti. Karomi means I do, iti means this. Yukto, ending with O, definitely it's a sandhi. So what is that? O means aha, yuktaha, manyeta. So when there is a consonant on the other side, on the next word, the first word will become ending with aha becomes O. So when you see O, that means it's aha when you divide it. Manyeta tatvavit. Tatvavit is basically the same. It doesn't change anything. Pashyang. So this N with the this is actually quite tricky, this N, but it is just, if you see the actual word in the word to word, it's Pashyan with a normal N, but here it's Pashyan with a tilde on top. What is that? Pashyan Shrinvan. It's basically almost the same pronunciation. Pashyan cha cha jajja nya nya nya, that nya, cha cha jajja nya. So Shrinvan, if you see again, Pashyan Shrinvan. So sh sound also is in the same place, ch. The tongue is at the same place as ch. So sh with the S with a line on top, the accent on top. I hope you know what I am talking about. S with a accent on top. This is sh. Sh when the tongue is almost touching at the middle of the palate. Sh is this sh from behind, sh. And this is s, normal S, s. Sh, sa. So sh, Shrinvan, the Shrinvan means to hear, that is at the palatal place, ch place. So the Pashyan in the previous word, the N must be of the same Varga. Pashyan Shrinvan. So Pashyan Shrinvan, but it would sound almost the same. Pashyan Shrinvan. Just a slight difference, but it's almost the same. Pashyan Shrinvan. The N, when you say the Pashyan, the N, the tongue should be at the ch place. Pashyan Shrinvan. Sprishan Jigran. Sprishan, you see, Sprishan Jigran. Sprishan Jigran. So is at the cha place instead of the dental place. Shrinvan, then Jigran. That's difficult to pronounce. Sprishan Jigran. Ashnan Gachan Swapan Shvasan. Pralapan Visrijan Grahanan. Unmishan Nimishan Api. Indriyani Indriyartheshu. Vartanta Yahadhara. Indriyani Indriyartheshu. There are three words there. Indriyani Indriya Artheshu. Indriyani Indriyartheshu. Like one word. But Indriyani, if you see here, Indriyani Indriya Artheshu. Indriyani Indriyartheshu. So that's how it is made. Alright, now we have another quotation from somebody. Malati Priya Mataji. Prabhupada on Sanskrit. Alright. So Patel was always Sanskrit, so this can be comical. So let's read. Prabhupada, Jai, no, you can get, but mostly 99% they do not know Sanskrit. Yes. And if you ask them to learn Sanskrit and they read Bhagavad Gita, Patel says, no, I said teach Sanskrit through Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada, oh, that we are doing. Dr. Patel, that is what I said. Prabhupada saying, that we are doing. We give each word's meaning, each word of any Sanskrit shloka, we give the meaning. That is right. Dr. Patel, that is the way I learned myself. I mean, a student of Prabhupada said, if one is serious to learn, he can learn. There is no difficulty. No dharma kshetre, kuru kshetre. 1. Now, if he requires the word is dharma kshetra, why is it written kshetre? Then it is grammar. Dr. Patel, that is what I say. That is the way I learned. Prabhupada, so that if he likes, he can learn it. Saptame, adhikar saptame, sthana, kshetra, kshetre, dharma kshetre. If he simply tries to learn the nominative case, the objective case or like that, then he will learn. Dr. Patel, Sanskrit like that. All things in different ways. So he is actually chanting something in Sanskrit and say like that. Prabhupada says Sanjaya Vacha, it is nominative case. See, these are all very technical words. Sanjaya Vacha, nominative case. So what is nominative case? I don't even know. Don't ask me. So Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta, this is plural number. Yuyutsavaha, plural number. Mamakaha. Mamakaha is also plural number. Mamakaha means my sons. Mamakaha means singular. Mamakaha means plural. Actually, all this is there. Ekvachan, Dvivachan, Bahuvachan. That means singular, dual, and plural. And then there is tense, past tense, and past participle, and past tense, and present, and future tenses are there. Then there is also the gender. Each is everything has a gender in Sanskrit. So the gender is there, and then there is the grammar like Krishna, Krishnam, Krishnaya, Krishnena, Krishne, Krishnad, Krishnasya. All these. These are all different ways of by Krishna, from Krishna, to Krishna. What is that? Krishna, from Krishna, Krishne, in Krishna. So in this way there are so many things actually to learn in grammar. You don't have all the time. We can learn this just by looking at the word to word meaning. That's what Prabhupada is also saying. Yujutsava, plural number, Mamakaha, Pandavaschaiva. Pandava is plural number, and when it is added with cha, it becomes shcha. The visarga, in this way he can learn. Eva, again Sandhi. Mamakaha, Pandavascha, Eva. Dr. Patel was saying, my meaning was that, my idea was that. So Prabhupada is saying, yes, so any serious student, he can learn at home. It is not very difficult. And after studying one or two or a dozen sentences like that, automatically, yes, he learns Sandhi, he learns verb, he learns subject, object, everything. No time, otherwise I would have made Bhagavad Gita grammar. Prabhupada is saying, I would have made Bhagavad Gita grammar, teaching grammar through Bhagavad Gita. That would have been wonderful. But actually Prabhupada is saying, you can learn it. As Prabhupada said, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 10, 20 verses, you see the pattern. Slowly you will get the hang of it. That's what I am saying. You will get the hang of it but please put in the effort of looking at the word to word meaning. Try to understand it in depth. So Prabhupada says, you can do that. People will read it Bhagavad Gita grammar. On the Bhagavad Gita teach them grammar. Just like Jiva Goswami compiled Harinamamrita Vyakaran. So Jiva Goswami actually did, yes, Harinamamrita Vyakaran. The whole idea of that book was taken from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. When he was Nimai Pandit, as a small young adolescent scholar, he used to teach grammar with Krishna's words. Harinamamrita Vyakaran. So Vyakaran means grammar. Nama means name. Harinama means the Hari's name. Amrita means nectar. So grammar using the nectar of the holy names of Hari. So just like that verse from Mukundamala Stotra. You will see again that verse because this is the topic now. Mukundamala Stotra, 43rd verse. Krishno rakshatu no jagatraya guru Krishnam namadhvam sada Krishnena khila shatravo vinihata Krishnaya tasmai namah Krishnadeva samuthitam jagadidam Krishnasya dasosmyaham Krishne tishtati vishvametadakhilam He Krishna rakshasva mam. So he is teaching grammar here in this verse. Krishno, Krishna, all this. We have already seen this before in the other sessions. Krishnam, Krishno, then there is Krishnam, then there is Krishnena Akhila. Actually this is Krishnena plus Akhila. Krishnena Akhila. Then there is Krishnaya. Then there is Krishnat. Actually it's Krishnat. But because there is a vowel next, so Krishnad, the voiced sound will come out. Then Krishnasya. Then Krishne. And then Krishna. See how many variations of the word Krishna. So if you see the word to word, then you will understand the meaning. So in this way, just observe and learn, and you will get good hold of Sanskrit. Like many people, they tell me, oh, you have very good understanding of Sanskrit. I say, not at all. You ask me to speak, I can't even speak one sentence in Sanskrit. But When we see Prabhupada's books in the way that he has presented, even if we don't know anything, we can just look at the word to word meaning. This is why the whole word to word meaning is so important, the synonyms. The most underrated part of Prabhupada's books. The devotees don't even know. That's why the original version of Prabhupada's books, the small pocket version they printed, the original 1972 version so called, but there is no Sanskrit Devanagari script and there is no word to word meaning even. Okay, even if there is no Devanagari script, at least the word to word meaning, that is what will help you learn the shloka, because you will then understand each and every word and then you will understand the division. And because when you understand Sanskrit, you will understand a little more than just English. Like as we already learned in the first lesson, like putra means usually it's son, it is translated as son, but you know the big meaning of the word putra, how he delivers father from hell, otherwise he is mutra, he is urine. So that means the duty of a son is all embedded in that one word, putra. So there is all this background you will get when you hear that Sanskrit word. Whereas when you hear the word son, there is no background, there is no depth to it, nothing. So to understand the depth, to appreciate the depth more, we need to understand the Sanskrit words. So just put a little effort. It doesn't take much effort actually to learn enough for us to understand the verses. It doesn't take much effort. Yeah, if you want to become a Sanskrit scholar, like PhD and all that, yes, that is like 12 years and all that. But to understand Prabhupada's books and to understand the grammar from there, pick up from there, it actually just comes. As you just put in effort, it will come. You will be able to understand all these rules very easily. I learned myself how I am teaching you. How am I teaching you these things? I never went, of course, I did basics of Sanskrit when I was in my teenage years, but I was not at all interested in the subject at that time because there was no reason for me to learn. It's just to score some marks in the examination, that's all. And I learned a little bit, almost, I remember maybe 1 or 2% of what I actually studied there in the Sanskrit class. But I used to get like almost 100% marks, 98 out of 100. That score I used to get. But it was just like out of rote. It was just like just vomit, and then after the exam completely forget it. That kind of Sanskrit. But to actually be interested in it and to understand it and use it to learn the shlokas and remember them, that all started with Prabhupada's books and training from Sundar Gopal Prabhu. So that is how it all started. So you just put the effort, even though you are completely new to the language, you will get a hold of it. You will get a hold of it, for sure. Yes, actually before we go, I have one character which is very difficult. Yesterday I should have probably touched upon that, but what is the verse? Janma karma no. Jnana yajnana. Okay. Jnana, this jna is a very important sound which many devotees get it wrong. Alright. We will go to this word jnana. You see this jnana yoga sankhyanam, jnana yogena sankhyanam. This jnana in yellow, highlighted in yellow, how to pronounce this? Many devotees say jnana. Jnana. No, it is not jnana. It's jnana. Jnana. It is, the tongue should be at j. J. But then you don't pronounce the j. Jnana. But jnana. Jnana. So there is a kind of G kind of sound. Jna. But actually it's not jna. It is jnana. Jna. The tongue is at the j. J. When you say j. J. Cha, cha, ja, jha, nya. So this is, I'll write down, cha, cha, this is aspirated, unvoiced, unaspirated, unvoiced, aspirated, this is all palatal series, cha varga, cha, cha, ja, jha, we don't have place, okay. Get rid of all this. Again, cha, cha, ja, jha, nya. Now jnana is this and this combined together becomes this, and jnana is added, is ana. So this is jnana. That's how it's pronounced. It's not jnana, and it's not exactly jnana. In usually many Indian languages, in Hindi and Marathi and Gujarati, it is pronounced as gyan, like G, gyan. But in Sanskrit, that is wrong. But if you pronounce it like jnana or like a G sound, it is not really wrong because of Marathi. But if you want to be pure Sanskrit, it is wrong. So the way it is pronounced is jnana. It's not jnana. It's just start from there, but jnana. So the sound will come like the G, jnana. But if you say even jnana, like G, jnana, it is not completely wrong because other Indian languages have that kind of a pronunciation for this. But in Sanskrit, it is not like that. So that is this. So don't pronounce it as jnana, that is completely off. Jnana. Just start with j, jnana. Transition it to nya, jnana. So that n with a tilde on top is nya. By alone it's nya, and add the j, jnana. So like that. All right. I think Malati Priya Mataji, thanks for your time and effort to teach us. Honestly, I'm not an expert, but thank you for attending. And tomorrow it will be more interesting because we will learn the tunes for each of those verses and how to decide which tune to use when we see a shloka. How to decide, and then what are the variations of tunes for the same length. So all this we will learn tomorrow, and we will look at example verses and everything. That subject at least I have a little more hold of. It's not that I have complete hold of that, but whatever verses are there in Srila Prabhupada's books, Vaishnava's Mercy by Prabhupada's Mercy, we are able to chant that. All the verses and the tunes. There are verses maybe in other places which we may not be able to chant, but Prabhupada's books, pretty much all of them, the verses are chantable. It's tunes that we know. So tomorrow we will go into all that. So until then, we'll see you next time. Thank you very much for coming on, and we'll see you tomorrow. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.